guess you could say part two. But when I went back and listened to what was recorded yesterday, and I seen where it ended, it kind of cut off. I thought it taped more because I was still talking even after that, and I thought it was recording. So, but anyway, um, so I mean, in all actuality, um, I guess you could say, in a sense, that even if nobody ever watches these and ever gets to hear even my side or my testimony, the bottom line is this whole entire experience has really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And see, before I had met Micah, I was in a very vulnerable place inside of my own mind. And I also was teeter tottering there in between my own shit and really truly dedicating and giving my life over to the Lord. And the thing is, when I became angry with the Lord, and see, in reality, I was more angry with the circumstances and the turn of events that it felt like in my life. In fact, I'm going to tell you where I was in my life at the time that I met Micah was exactly where you could say he has been at times in his thoughts regarding me. And what I mean by that is I was very heartbroken. I had felt that I was betrayed. I had felt that I was used. I had felt that I was taken for granted. And I had all of this anger in me when I had met Micah. And I even told him, and I knew it, like I said it to myself, the anger that I had experienced and some of the triggers that were occurring and I was realizing I was being triggered by was so intense and so coming from such a place of deep hurt and rage. And I'm telling you this with this being said as well. I want you to keep in mind that everything and feeling and negative emotion that I'm describing about myself in that what I went through. So the thing was, it's called familiar spirits, okay? So when I met Micah, I was acting out in rebellious ways for my flesh because insecurity, rejection, just wanting to feel accepted or accept my own self. I don't even know what you would call it. It was like I found myself, well, first off, I was so heartbroken and I was in such deep grief. But at the same time, it's like I could be and have been like I could be easily persuaded and manipulated and talked into things because people pleasing was always a big thing for me as well. So it's like always about doing stuff so somebody else might, not be offended, or like, doing things because you don't want to let somebody down. So there was a whole bunch there was a sea of whole bunch of different emotions going on. Like anger, rage, deep grief, and hurt. Now, also, I had a lot of anger at God because I had a lot of confusion. Because, in case some of you may or may not know, I also was in a religious cult down in Tennessee, and I wasn't there for a very long time. However, even though I was serious about a relationship with God, I found that it was not down there, but many lessons learned. So I was, juggling because I came from a cult, literally, where I had to do like a 360. I was like wearing head coverings and long skirts. I looked like an Amish woman. I was, in one of those kind of cults where, like, if you so much as even talk to a heathen, and a heathen would be any man or woman that was not like a cult member and believed the same stuff that the way we believed it. So, you're going to be numbered with the heathen and thrown into the lake of fire and all this bullshit. And basically, I wasn't in it's a miracle at all that God is still with me. Hallelujah. And I really wasn't sure what to make of Micah at first, because everything about him screamed no. But because I had found myself, it was like weird. I would be put in situations around and in certain instances that maybe I made a judgment on. Maybe I said I would never, or maybe I said, well, it's like I found that I was in a part of my life where I'm now, in a sense, having to eat a lot of my words, and then I'm being put in certain situations and I'm saying to myself, what would Jesus do? And, and I'm learning like, well, it's about what is going to feel right. But geez, I don't know. So like I went through experience and then made my own judgments on things based off of what felt right inside and what didn't. It was like I was learning how to understand the communications that were starting to take place within my own inner being, okay? Because now, instead of just ignoring things or acting like it's just something else, now I'm questioning things inside and I'm starting to get to the nitty gritty, okay? So that's the only thing that I really, other than doing that, I pretty much met him in a state where like I was just down and out with horrible heartbreak. In fact, that was the initial trauma bond that actually bonded us, was the grief that we both harbored and shared regarding our exes, which, see, here's the thing. Neither one of us was in any position to link up or be with somebody else, because both of us were just like really just way too heartbroken and unhealed. And, so with that being said, you figure, so you got two people in a low state, and the main, how do I say this in the right way? So there was two things that kind of drew and kept the flesh connection. There was like I want to say, I'm going to be honest with you. I know what I would like to say, but I'm having a hard time coming out and saying it, but here it goes. There was a lot of drugs and sex and perversion at play as well. Uh, and I'm going to say, when I look back on if there's any memory, or if there is, even back in the time that I stayed with him, you know, it was not ever the memories of the illicit sex, the drugs, it was, or any perversion. It would have always been a memory that involved not using or doing any substances, and probably involved when I could see a man in there. Like there was little inklings of a soul man that wanted to come out. And see, the real problem is some people ignore the inner workings of their, it's like they don't ignore it, but they don't ever deal with the troubles that they have. Like, okay, I used to want to sometimes have conversations with him in regards to some of my beliefs, because he was always really quick to shut me down as, hooey-ha-y, like stuff of fairy tales and myths, which, by the way, a lot of those myths do come from some sort of ancient book that describes something so relevant, basically, and the existence of God. But anyway, that was totally off topic. But jumping back, I can't remember what I was saying just now. Oh, help me, Father.